consent. So funny.
Finally, it's working.
There we go.
Shane, Shane, my man, really good to see you again. And today we're going to discuss something that's pretty close to my heart at the moment, which is vitamin C, or as my people would say, vitamin C supplementation. I mean, I know you definitely know more about it than I do, but I'll just give you a quick rundown of why it's so close to my heart at the moment, and that's because I started taking high dose vitamin C about 6 weeks ago, in the form of ascorbic acid, L-ascorbic acid, just having about 5 grams a day mixed in water. And my eyes have always been pretty good, but as I'm like hitting 40 now, about to turn 41, I wouldn't say they were bad, but I definitely started to notice a little bit of deterioration in my, especially my long distance vision. And the other day, I was actually with some friends in California. I was on vacation, and we were standing looking out at a horizon, and I realized that my eyesight was perfect. It was like I couldn't believe it. It's like the eyesight I had when I was a kid, and nothing else has changed except the addition of vitamin C. Now, I did a little bit of research, and apparently, it's found vitamin C is found in high concentrations in the fluid within your eyes, and it functions as the primary antioxidant within your eyes. I found a lot of research, or some research, to support that it can improve eyesight, and I guess I'm living proof.
Yeah. Not only is it in the eyes, it's in the brain. It's involved in a lot of different functions in the body. So I'm not real surprised to hear that. I've just never heard somebody able to tie it together so easily. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's an important vitamin. Um, for instance, brain and memory. Has high concentrations in the brain, especially in the hippocampus and frontal cortex regions, which are involved in memory consolidation, learning, and different aspects of executive function.
Mhm.
And so it's important that the way it works is it scavenges free radicals. I guess it donates an electron. Um, I'm not the guy to talk to you about that. I understand the basics of it, but essentially it protects other areas that are sensitive to oxidative stress as well, like vitamin E. It's typically taken with vitamin E for that reason, so that you don't have this lipid peroxidation with the vitamin E. Basically, the vitamin C scavenges the free radicals and allows the vitamin E to remain bioavailable.
Okay. That's yeah. I mean, I knew a few of those things, but not all of them. So it's my understanding that it comes in different forms, but based on the research that I've done, there's no real difference between the artificial and the natural versions, and you should take it in the form ascorbic acid. Some people claim that L-ascorbic acid is superior to ascorbic acid. I did a bit of research this morning, and it showed that the study showed that neither one of those was better than the other. Some people also claim that you should take bioflavonoids, which are compounds that increase its bioavailability. But again, I couldn't find any research to support that. And in fact, I found some research that actually contradicted that. So if I was to make a suggestion, I would say just get the straight up ascorbic acid. It's cheap as dirt, really. I mean, you can find it pretty much anywhere on Amazon. There's millions of different brands. Um, and yeah, that's my current perspective. Do you have any different thoughts on that?
Well, right here I've got Now Brands. This is a vitamin C I've had for a long time, and it's just the ascorbic
Mhm.
acid. Um, I take this occasionally, just supplementary, supplemental to my diet. I personally think it's probably best just to get it from your diet. Um, there's foods like the highest concentrations are in acerola cherry. And if
Mhm.
you look at it in 100 grams, you're almost at 2,000% of your daily requirements.
Okay.
But those numbers are really, really low. They're too low, in my opinion. I think the recommended daily allowance for men is 70 milligrams a day, I believe.
Mhm.
It's hard to say. There's different. Um, there's obviously different ideas. Some people believe in high dose vitamin C. There was a
Mhm.
period where I was taking up to 20 grams a day,
Wow.
just yeah, orally, because I wanted to see the effects. This is how I do everything. I hear something, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm going to run it and see what happens. Um, I never had any negative. I didn't see negative consequences from it. There's a fear of oxalates, um, And basically what the vitamin C, excess vitamin C, I guess, could form crystals in your kidneys, I believe. Um, but basically, that's the thing, the fear of kidney stones.
Hmm.
And so
Funny
that's
you mentioned that, because I came across a study that, again, conflicting studies regarding that. One study actually claimed that vitamin C reduces a certain type of kidney stone. Um, so yeah, I think the jury's out on that as far as I can tell.
well, it's from what I heard, or at least from what I read, it's to me more of a theoretical risk and not an actual
Mhm.
risk. Um,
Okay.
so looking at some of the data I came across, it says that basically in reality, there's no association between vitamin C intake and kidney stones. But this is the problem with medicine right now. So much money is put into pharmaceuticals that you're missing out on like really high, you know, highly accurate studies in these other fields with vitamins. And there's so much, when there's money involved, it's really hard to separate what is real and what isn't.
Hmm.
Or who's the whoever's running the study, if there's a bias or not. I personally, like I said, I never had problems with it. I don't think it's a good idea to go out and do 20 grams a day like I did. I broke it up into like every 4 hours. I was taking something like 4 or 5 grams at a time. I
Hmm.
think realistically, they say first of all, it's excreted out in urine, right? So if you get too much, you just kind of piss it out.
Hmm.
They said basically all you need is 10 milligrams a day to stave off scurvy and other negative side effects. And that's because of the collagen production, so that your skin can heal. Basically, you can't have wound healing if you don't have vitamin C because of the collagen production.
Hmm.
So for that, you're looking at 10 milligrams a day. I've seen some studies suggest that around 200 milligrams a day is adequate. But if you listen to people like Rhonda Patrick, because the doses, it's basically an acute dose is what gives you the benefit. You can't just take one and expect like one large dose and expect it to last throughout the entire day. So
Hmm.
I would suggest, just from my own personal, this is speaking for myself. I think around 200 to 500 milligrams every 4 hours throughout the day is probably your best bet without running the
Hmm.
risk of anything else. And again, taking it in whole food forms like acerola cherry again is the highest. You also have coriander, which is an herb.
Hmm.
That gives you 630%. So it's 560 milligrams per 100 grams, which
Okay.
is a tremendous amount. The number three source is rose hips, and you'll find a lot of that in the supplementary forms. Um, a lot of them are derived from rose hips, and I personally, that's what I tend to try to look for. The cherry is a good safe bet too, and it's nice, just to have a little of that during the daytime, and then you get the other antioxidant benefits, the other micronutrients and stuff within
Hmm.
those fruits. And
The bioflavonoids, yeah. So I mean,
yeah,
I think no conversation about vitamin C would be complete without a little bit of discussion of Linus Pauling, and that's actually
mhm,
what really got me interested in this particular compound. So Linus Pauling was a chemist in the 20th century. Now, the interesting thing about him is he was the only person to ever win two unshared Nobel Peace Prize, right? Peace
yeah,
prizes, not just one, and it wasn't one of those classic prizes that's shared amongst the whole team. It was just him, and he won it twice. Still the only person ever to do that. Many people consider him America's most famous 20th century scientist. Very, very smart man, obviously, and he started to put a lot of things together when it came to vitamin C. So it's my understanding that he I don't know if he figured this out himself, but he based a lot of his research off the fact that human beings are one of the few mammals on the planet that cannot produce vitamin C internally, and that's because of a specific gene mutation that happened during our evolution, whereas most other mammals can do that. And there was a correlation that only mammals that can't create their own vitamin C get heart disease. Those that don't get heart disease. And so there's a lot of study and a lot of research that he did showing that heart disease can be largely prevented apparently with vitamin C. Now the medical establishment came out and freaked out, and kind of tried to discredit the guy, which to me is always a sign to take notice of someone, right? Because we know that very often the medical establishment has vested interests in not making you healthy and not getting you well and selling you their own stuff. Um, and what I found out this morning is that he's actually his studies were subsequently what's the word I'm looking for? Vindicated. And it showed that the way they tried to discredit him was completely erroneous, and they made a bunch of mistakes. And his work has since been proven to be largely accurate. So if you have interest in vitamin C, I would strongly recommend checking out Dr. Linus Pauling, and his work.
Yeah, are you familiar with the Gerson therapy as well?
I've heard of it. It's like an anti-cancer protocol, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's largely raw fruits and or raw vegetables. I don't know how many fruits are involved with it as well, but
Mm-hmm.
it's that along with I believe it's 200 grams or up to 200 grams of intravenous vitamin C a day, and I think part of the protocol was coffee enemas as well. And
Mm-hmm.
that's something I actually, a friend of a friend, I don't know if they want me mentioning their name, but I'd spoken to somebody a couple of years ago, and they said, "Oh, I have a friend who went through cancer, and it was in stage 4, I think, and it was looking pretty grim. And they opted not to do any chemotherapy or radiation, and they went straight to Gerson therapy. And again, this is me speaking. This is just
It's
a
anecdotal,
conversation I've had,
right?
completely anecdotal. Um, but and I can't remember the time frame if it was within 8 or 9 months, but it was within a fairly short time frame that all the cancer had been completely eliminated from their body. And that was,
Mm-hmm.
again, I think a lot of it. Again, that's not me making a recommendation to anybody. That's something that I've heard
Mm-hmm.
discussed, and a lot of other people have had these kind of these outcomes.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, it's like you're kind of running the risk. You have to figure it out. You have to weigh the data for yourself and figure out what's best for you. But I
Mm-hmm.
think I think just changing your lifestyle, being aware of the bad habits, lowering your sugar intake and getting, raw and processed fruits, vegetables, and meat as well. Meat, believe it or not, actually has a small amount of vitamin C in it. And the
Mm-hmm.
problem that people are, sailors were having with scurvy was the fact that they were using like either dehydrated meats or different things, but basically they didn't get any vitamin C's from fruits or vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
And
I heard a story which completely changed my sixth grade school teacher, history teacher, told us this story. He was a big maritime history buff, and he said that what happened once, a ship was in port, and there's the galley where all the officers ate, and then everyone else, all of the regular crew, just ate in a different part of the ship, and they got a way cheaper, inferior food. And while they were resupplying the ship, one of the deckhands was carrying a bag of onions to take to the galley for the officers' food, and he accidentally dropped it onto the deck. And one of the sailors grabbed this bag of onions and basically stole it and hid it. And they found that ship had 0 cases of scurvy, just
there
from
you go.
one bag of onions, which blew my mind. Like an onion, you don't think of an onion as something as having a lot of vitamin C, but I mean, just that like could prevent scurvy. And again, I think I'm at the place now where I can't definitively say whether high dose vitamin C is good for you, but from everything I've read and studied, I'm going to keep taking a relatively high dose until I find information to the contrary.
Yeah, one thing I would like to say too is, if you ever want to test vitamin C to see how potent it is as an antioxidant. When you, and I assume this is why this is happening, but when you cut open an avocado and you stick it in the fridge or have it set aside, it turns brown fairly quickly. And what I found
Mm-hmm.
is if I sprinkle vitamin C crystals on it, just this regular ascorbic acid, I can sprinkle it across the top and it won't brown at all,
Well,
and it'll
that's
last that way.
fascinating.
Yeah, so when you
That
put
is
it in the
absolutely
fridge,
fascinating.
I'll put it in a small package. I'll sprinkle vitamin C on top of it, and that completely eliminates the browning. So
Ah, you learn something new every day. Shane, that
a little
was that
high.
was a lot of fun. I really appreciate your insights, and let's do this again soon, my man.
Sounds good. Good chatting.